this is Elmo from Sesame Street, getting ready to do an interview for Port Discovery in Baltimore, Maryland. Beep, 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 beep.
Test 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. My wife had a flea.
Check, check. 1, 2, 3.
Soft focus might help.
Okay, so we can either do hands up or hands like this.
I like hands up. I think
It looks more,
natural.
yeah, I mean, I haven't sat like this since I was 10 years old.
I lived in a row house, which was sort of cool because out of boredom what we would do is climb up. You can climb from one house to the other all the way. My house was like on a little bit of a hill, and we would climb, and it was, so everybody knew each other.
Everybody lived in the neighborhood. I don't think I had any friends that lived outside the neighborhood. It was a very close community.
Everybody was connected in the neighborhood. Everybody knew each other.
Big neighborhood, a lot of kids. We grew up right across the street from a park.
That I thought was a huge park, which I've gone back to now, and it's pretty small.
But being 10, it seemed like the biggest yard in the world.
It's an area with a lot of open space for kids to run around. And so the thing I remember most about growing up was just playing football all the time, going to school, then coming home, eating, then playing football. That was that kind of defined my childhood.
You become efficient in every sport that's possible. That's from boxing to baseball to football.
We played tag, we played dodgeball, kickball and softball on the court, and kick the can and capture the flag.
Capture the flag.
Capture the flag, #1.
I hated sports always. I still don't understand why grown men would chase balls. I never had the urge to chase a ball in my whole life. So in school, that was an issue, because I'd have to play, and then the ball, and I wouldn't pick it up. They'd be water screaming, and people would be running around the bases. I'm thinking about Dagmar or somebody else.
So my favorite games were something called playing jacks and also jumping rope. Playing jacks is where you'd bounce the ball and you had little metal stars. So you'd play onesies, twosies, threesies, etc.
Oh, Elmo's favorite games is pin the tail on the donkey, but Elmo only gets to do that when it's birthdays.
My first puppet I built at age 10 was Mickey Mouse and Hansel and Gretel for shows that I would try to put on at home.
I had this fort, and with these cavalry and Indians, and
I always had the ghost glasses from William Castle movies where you could see the ghosts or not see them.
We went to Girl Scouts.
Played a lot of Barbie dolls.
Elmo loves Twister too, because it's really funny, because you get your body all twisted up and stuff. That's fun.
So I could just play in a cardboard box and pretend that I lived in it. That kind of thing was what I remember more. And
We pretended we were the Beatles with our badminton rackets, you know, as guitars.
Doug's favorite was to be a dolphin, and then I would pick something else. Either I would be a dolphin, or occasionally, if we were at odds with each other, I would be a shark.
the heroes always was Captain Hook. I used to walk around with a coat hanger up my sleeve. I'd glue my father's ties to my hair so I'd have long hair.
There weren't tons of toys and other things around, so that was the game.
I used to have a horror house always that I had in Lutherville where I'd turn the garage into a horror house, and the neighbors would give me, the kids would give me a quarter, and I'd say, wait a minute, and I'd go in the garage, take my father's fire extinguisher, say, come in, and they'd come in, and I'd just squirt them with a fire extinguisher and kick them, and that was it, and they liked it. That was the horror house. I think they might have had a skeleton in there and some dry ice, because my father always had that. That always looked good.
I went to Liberty School number 64 in Garrison and Maine.
Fermanagh, Templeton, right off of Pennsylvania Avenue.
Sacred Heart of Jesus Elementary School.
Phelps Luck Elementary School.
Calvert School, Towsontown Junior High, I'll choke on these words, Calvert Hall, University of Baltimore, and NYU for 5 minutes.
I was probably, at that age, I was a good student.
Yeah.
I deteriorated as I got a little older.
Towsontown Junior High I liked because for the first time I saw trashy, scary girls and juvenile delinquents, and I've certainly used that in my work. And I did have a teacher there I liked, Mrs. Bolander.
There was a fast class and there was a, I don't know if you call it a slow class, I think they call it the special class. I was the guy in the special class.
I was klutzy in the lab because of eyesight.
And I was a very shy youngster, painfully shy. You know, that's one of the reasons I got into skating, so I didn't have to talk to anybody.
At first, you know, friends and classmates, they thought, you know, it was really stupid, and, you know, I slept with my puppets and all that stuff.
I knew that I didn't fit in. I didn't want to fit in, really. I didn't understand why everyone liked Ike. I didn't.
The worst thing, really, about the whole deal is the fact that when we were both in high school, I was slated to be the starting quarterback our senior season, all right? And he's a sophomore, 6'3", 205-pound sophomore who could throw BBs all over the field, and here I am, you know, look at me, can't throw the ball 20 yards. But I was supposed to be the senior quarterback. But I knew if they brought him up from the JV, it was going to be over in about 3 throws because I grew up with him. I mean, I knew he could throw it better than me. And they brought him up for the JV, and it was over in about 3 throws. So I went to wingback. I caught the passes, he threw the passes.
I had been the quarterback of an undefeated team. We were preparing for the second season, and I'm out there tossing the ball back and forth. Mr. Young comes up to me. Mr. Young's about 300 pounds. He says, "Kurt, what do you plan to do after high school?" I said, "Well, I'm going to go to college." He says, "Where are you going to go to college?" And now I'm throwing the ball back and forth. I said, "Well, I'm thinking about Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame." And Mr. Young put his arm around me and he said, "I just want to tell you one thing." I said, "What's that, sir?" He said, "You're not that good." And I could have been crushed, you know. I felt pretty deflated. But then he gave me another set of colleges, and they were mostly Little Ivy League or Ivy League. And he just said, "I want you to understand that from my point of view, football is going to become less and less important in your life as you move away from high school. For other guys, it's going to become more and more important." It was a valuable lesson for me, and it was one that really had an influence on my life.
I do have some friends from high school that I have dinner with still, and they tell me dirt, you know, about. It's interesting to look through the yearbook and to be honest and say, is they dead? Is that one gay? This one's been married 6 times. I mean, this one got a sex change. This one was a Nazi. One was the head of the Nazi party in my class. So that's interesting.
So when I was 14, my first restaurant job was at McDonald's.
I helped out a little bit in the store. I had a little red wagon that I would sometimes take around the neighborhood.
In the neighborhood, there was a little pharmacy there, and I drove a bike and delivered prescriptions.
By the time I was 10, I'd already started mowing lawns. I had my own lawn mowing business at that time. So part of my big vision at that point in life was to become the lawn king of Kensington.
I made 50 cents an hour babysitting till I was 19.
I started doing shows locally all over, you know, all over Baltimore, doing birthday parties and churches, and you know, and that's how it really started my career.
I had a puppeteer career from when I was about 10 to 14, where I sometimes had 2 and 3 shows a week. I made $25 a show, which was a lot in my 50s. I sent out ads even to all my parents in the address book, and book it today.
So I always worked. I remember working, honestly, since I was probably 9 years old, and really making real money.
They teach you all the stuff that they don't want to teach you in culinary school, like come to work clean, wash your uniform, be nice to customers, upsell, like all the like just little tiny things that you didn't really think you were learning. Like I just thought I was, you know, making Big Macs. I didn't think I was learning any life lessons there, but I really was. When I was a kid, my heroes were Mr. T, obviously. I mean, who doesn't want to be Mr. T when they're a kid, you know? I did.
Well, again, remember, a child of World War II, so the people we really admired were the boys fighting overseas.
When I was young, I think it was Harry Truman.
I absolutely fell in love with Julie Andrews, her character in Mary Poppins.
Muhammad Ali, one of the world's greatest heavyweight boxing champions.
I remember a guy named Ray Felix, he used to play for the Baltimore Bullets. He was 7 foot, where he was 6'11". He was the tallest, biggest guy in the world.
That 1958 team with Johnny Unitas and Lenny Moore.
Great men of character, Bob Brunings, and guys who I continue to look up to and aspire to be. Dan Reeves was a friend of my best friend's father. Lee Reeves was a good friend of mine, and I really liked Dan and how he carried himself, and of course Tom Landry.
Captain Hook, the Rhoda Penmark, the murderous little child in The Bad Seed, and the Wicked Witch of the West. Those were my childhood heroes. I never wanted to be the regular hero. I didn't want to be Superman. I wanted to be the villain. I wanted to be the Beagle Boys, the ones that robbed Uncle Scrooge. I wanted to be the bad guy always. And it was much more colorful. They dressed better.
The other person I admired was Madame Curie. My parents took me to see a movie about this fantastic Polish woman.
Julia Child, still to this day, is one of my biggest heroes.
The coach that I started taking lessons from when I was about 12, his name was Gus Lucy, and he was an Austrian ski jumper and somehow became an ice skating teacher.
After I saw the movie, Madame Curie, with an actress called Greer Garson, I was so into it. My parents bought me a chemistry set, and I did little experiments, nearly blew up our club cellar. I had those little papers that you dipped in test tubes.
Obviously, there's a food connection there, but more so just the way that she lived her life was completely without fear, and she made her own rules. She created the world that she lived in.
He was very demanding, and he rarely paid a compliment, but when he did, you just felt so proud.
When I changed my major from medical technology pre-med to sociology, because I knew I was not going to win those 2 Nobel Prizes, marry a Frenchman and find the cure for cancer, I kept that. And in the United States Congress, I'm one of the leading advocates of science and technology.
When Julia Child was in France, she really wasn't accepted as a cook. And she learned and learned and learned, and no matter what people said, she persevered. And she became amazing at it.
We respected him so much that you could, I always hear his voice in the back of my head, you know, be proud of yourself, stand up for who you are, stand up for what you believe in, and if you're going to do something, do it well.
So deep down inside, my inner child is still that little girl working on the chemistry set. But now I fund the people that win the Nobel Prizes.
I think my hero probably was my mother, probably. Single parent, you know, raising 5, 6 kids, working 2 jobs. That's, you know, that's hard. You know, you don't understand that when you're a kid, but as you get older, you know, everything starts to make sense to you.
No one in my neighborhood had fathers. I mean, a father was a novelty thing.
I lost my dad when I was 2 years old, so I was looking throughout my whole life for a man figure or a father figure to come around and, you know, put me under his wings.
My dad was like a modern-day Atticus Finch, an independent trial attorney and self-made person, and my mom.
She was the mayor of my town until she went to work at the State Department, and so she'd go to these conventions representing the Secretary of State at the time. This was in the 80s under the Reagan administration, and she, you know, would carry me with her, and I'd go to these conferences, and she helped expose me to, you know, things outside of just, you know, Kensington, Maryland.
Since his business was fire protection, whenever we would hear the Lutherville Fire Department siren go off, the volunteer, we would jump up from the dinner table even and run and chase the fire trucks and watch neighbors' homes burn down. And I was really happy doing that with my father. I felt close to him.
And growing up in a household with a mother and father who both were new to this country, our day-to-day outlook and perspective on life was one full of optimism. Optimism that in this country, if you work hard and you're determined, that you can fulfill your dreams.
My father passed away last year, and I read an article that an interview that he gave to a reporter while I was in college, so I had never seen this before. And one of the things that he said is that he made sure that he protected me from racism and discrimination. And so I really never felt the impact of some of the difficulties that were going on in our metropolitan area at the time that I grew up. So as far as I was concerned, kids from West Baltimore could do anything. I mean, you literally had everything open to you, and I think that was a wonderful gift that my parents gave to me.
My father died recently, and certainly all the issues we had been worked out, and the ones that weren't, I turned into a career.
My hero is Jane Goodall because she helps animals a lot.
My hero's my mom and my dad.
My mother and my father.
Probably my sister.
My brother and my cousin.
My cousin.
My mom.
Well, all my moms.
My dad and my mom.
My mother is my hero because she take good care of me. She's single, and I love her.
When I was 10, my teacher said, Anthony, you can be anything you want to be when you grow up. And so I was pretty excited about that.
In 4th grade, I was a great midget B pitcher. I thought I was headed for the major leagues.
I played first base. Occasionally I caught, and I thought I would be a Major League Baseball player.
I never thought I would play Major League Baseball. I just wasn't very big, and skillfully I probably wasn't as good as a lot of guys.
I knew I couldn't be a singer or a dancer because I just wasn't good in those areas. But she said, I think that you're going to be an attorney. Now, if she said lawyer, I would have known what she was talking about. But with my limited 4th grade vocabulary, I didn't quite know what attorney was. So I quickly ran to the encyclopedia, not the dictionary. And I looked it up, and I read about someone who fights for other people and protects their interests. And I said, you know what? I can do that.
My parents took me to the Howdy Doody show when I was a kid, and I went to New York and was in the peanut gallery and saw that it was all a lie and was fake, and I knew that's what I wanted to do forever.
I wanted to go up and be the next Madame Curie.
I want to be a captain of industry.
You know, I thought I wanted to be a priest.
I wanted to be an interior decorator.
I wanted to be a professional football player.
I wanted to be a pro football player.
I wanted to be a football player.
And so here I am now, many, many years later, a law school trained lieutenant governor fighting for the people of Maryland. So I want to thank my 4th grade teacher for telling me that and inspiring me that so many years ago. But really what I want to do is play professional football. So I still dream from time to time of suiting up for the Baltimore Ravens, and dreams live on.
When I grow up, I want to be an artist.
I want to be a marine biologist.
I want
To be an artist.
I don't know.
I want to be a vet when I grow up.
Dolphin trainer.
I want to be a chef like my dad, and maybe when I'm off and breaks, I'm going to design guitars.
Build robots and confuse chemicals to make something.
I want to be a hygienist. Boy, 10 is a big number. But Elmo doesn't know where he would be if he was 10. Elmo just knows that he would be older. Well, yeah, of course Elmo dreams when he sleeps. It's the coolest part.
What do you dream about?
Well, Elmo dreams about going to outer space and going to forests and stuff like that. And on safari. Elmo dreams about seeing zebras and elephants.
I tell people when I'm performing Sesame Street and doing Elmo, it's like babysitting a child from 9 a.m. to 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. Because literally, I'm 47 years old.
Elmo is 3.5 going on 48. Hmm?
They connect to this character. It's their best friend. They don't see me on TV. They see Elmo.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Kevin. Oh, you mean him? Elmo doesn't understand why he has a him. Elmo doesn't see hims all with everybody else that Elmo sees. Elmo doesn't understand it. But he's okay.
Sometimes when you see me perform Elmo on these shows and stuff like that, I'm laughing underneath. Because I'm watching at the same time that you're watching.
Elmo loves crabs, especially soft shell crabs.
Elmo's a part of my life because, before Shannon was born, I did a lot of children's programming. I did Captain Kangaroo, Great Space Coaster, all these different things. And when she was born, I got to pull all of it out. And what was nice is there was a personal connection to Elmo and Shannon because, Shannon got to see him all the time.
It's always fun to be playing with the crabs and try to figure out how to open them up. That's the fun part.
How about smashing them with the hammer?
Smashing them with the hammer?
Yeah, you get the hammer, the mallet.
Elmo doesn't do that.
With the mallet?
No, Elmo doesn't use a mallet.
Oh, mallet.
Elmo's strong.
As she got a little older, she started to figure out ways to use it. So she would get on the phone, "Hi, Daddy," and I'd say, "Hi, Shannon. Can I speak to Elmo?" So I would you know, do Elmo, and she would say, listen, Elmo, there's this new Barbie doll that I saw in this commercial. Will you know, tell Daddy about it? I say, okay, can you put Daddy back? Okay, so I get back, yes, Shannon. Well, listen, Elmo has something really important to tell you. So she started to use it. It was really cute.
Elmo loves doing jumping jacks too, like this.
That's Elmo. We're separate.
One lesson I learned in childhood is that it doesn't matter if you don't fit in, and you feel like it really does when you're young. But if you have interest, it doesn't matter if no one else in your class understands what you're doing. You're not going to hang around with them later in life. You're never going to see those people again. You have to go there because you're young. You haven't escaped yet into what you want to do.
So much of what drives you is that chip on your shoulder, and it's what you do with it, is that everybody faces different types of adversity and the same types of adversity, but it's how you define and how you deal with it. You can either say, you know, this is a cross that I'll never be able to bear and something that I'll never be able to break through or break out of, or you can look at things as opportunities. Everyone has challenges. And
it's really about your accomplishments. It's about what you do, not your age. And once you show people that you're capable and that you're successful and you can handle the job, then nobody talks about your age anymore.
I think that my size certainly has, in some ways, felt like a disadvantage at times in my life and in my career. But when I look back on it now, I think that it's made me who I am. It caused me to work hopefully just as hard, if not harder than others, to get to where I am. You have people tell you can't do things, and I've learned to not believe them.
Everybody has doubts. That's the hard thing, is that courage is not about being scared, it's about being terrified but persevering anyway.
If you can see it and you can pursue it, then you can be it.
We have a very interesting part of our week where we get together as senators, and one senator will stand up and talk about his or her background. And I'm amazed at how different our courses were to get to the United States Senate. We've had people who've come from very privileged backgrounds, we've had people who've come from very difficult backgrounds, and they're in the United States Senate. So there's no one path.
I always talked about what I wanted to be. I didn't talk about what I wanted to do. That is, I knew that I wanted to be mayor at 10, but if somebody had said to me at 10 years old, okay, you're now mayor, what are you going to do? I think I would have been at a loss. And so it was later in life that I learned the distinction between being and doing, and really having some sense of what you want to do in the positions that you're able to obtain.
Figure out what you like, figure out what makes you feel good, and then do it.
And you don't have to be the best in the world at it.
Work harder than the next person.
Always pursue your schoolwork. You got to know the basics.
You got to stick out. You got to stand out a little bit, and you can't make that up. You have to feel that for real.
Don't ignore your families. I mean, they're actually your best friends in the long run, and it's great to enjoy them along the way.
Because it's not about me. Life isn't about me. It's about how I can serve others and how I can try to make this world a better place.
Making somebody else first and making yourself last. Making somebody else big and making yourself small. Putting their needs ahead of your own. Taking care of one another.
No pride, no egos.
There's no magic to achieving one goal.
All progress, all success comes from breaking rules.
We didn't listen to the detractors and the naysayers who said, you'll never be able to compete with you know, those guys from Oregon. You'll never be able to compete with the brand from Germany. And I think our general reaction is, you know, sort of that, well, why not? And why not you?
If somebody says, you can't put a motor in a cake, well, why not? Show me the rule that says you can't. You know, I mean, maybe it's a common belief, but it's not set in stone.
It doesn't matter if people think you're crazy in school. It doesn't matter if you aren't the most beautiful one, but have confidence in your lunacy and your neuroses and whatever people think is bad about you, exaggerate that and make it into a style, and then you look glamorous.
It was always wonderful to watch. I mean, you know, you might be too young, but Art Linkletter, you know, the way he would interview a child. He wouldn't interview, he'd talk to the child and he'd listen. Same thing with Bill Cosby. Same thing with Jim Henson and Frank Oz. Why they're so brilliant is they know that it's all about the child. It's all about listening to them and falling out laughing, because they're the funniest people in the world.
You should be happy if your kid is a bad influence. I was always a bad influence. Nobody ever said, my parents never said, oh, you shouldn't hang around with them, they're a bad influence on you. They knew I was a bad influence on them. If your kid is the bad influence on others, he will be a leader.
When I was mayor, the worst thing I saw was when people had very low expectations of children, because the children tended to work down to those expectations. When you lifted them up and said, I believe you can achieve, I believe you can do this, then children generally worked up to those expectations. And so making sure you keep a positive environment and always have children reaching for the next rung of the ladder is the most important thing I think we can do.
Encourage whatever interest your parents have. You can't order your kids' careers. You can't say, I want you to be this. They may not want to be. So if your daughter comes home with you and her entire face she just had tattooed, tell her she could open a tattoo parlor. You got to work with what you got. Don't discourage them. People say they want to be in a rock and roll band. Be glad they want. Maybe they'll make more money than you will.
My advice that I would give to parents is listen. Stop trying to act like the adult all the time, because if you do that, you're not gonna learn all the things that you can learn from your child. You know, they're brought in this world to depend on you, but you're gonna get so much more if you just listen.
What Elmo wants to be when he grows up? Elmo would like to be a teacher.
I'm Eric Becker, a board member of Port Discovery, and probably most importantly, Doug Becker's older brother.
I'm Kurt Schmoke. I was mayor of the city of Baltimore from 1987 to 1999. I now teach at the law school at Howard University, so my students say I was mayor in the last century. I was very proud to be the mayor during the time that Port Discovery was established and work with some of its early pioneers in moving this project forward.
My name is Javon Price and I'm 18.
My name is Lisa and I'm 21. And we were part of the original focus group for Port Discovery that planned the museum and tested all of the exhibits.
So in the early days of Port Discovery, I do remember Doug working with Kurt Schmoke on the idea of the move from the cloisters to the new location downtown.
I was very fortunate to be able to tap the talents of an outstanding creative young man named Doug Becker, who was doing some wonderful things in the city with his business, but also had demonstrated how civic-minded that he was. And so he brought together a group of people, some very creative individuals, and thought through this idea of Port Discovery.
Doug was very passionate and driven by this idea of a museum that was about dreams and aspirations.
Basically, we were just taught to be ourselves and be our own person and to have dreams and reach for our dreams.
It's kind of trite to say, but it is true that children are our future, and it's just great that Baltimore has a place like Port Discovery that shows that it's investing in the children, it's stimulating their minds, it's showing them that we care about them and that the city cares from their earliest age through high school. And so this is a very important place.
It's important to have a place that feels like it's your own, like Port Discovery was for us when we were kids. It was really a place that we owned and that we were in charge of, and that we could take other people to and know it was ours.
You come up with an idea, you create that dream, and then you have to live into that in order to make it happen.
A place like this can change a person's life. If you don't, it really is like a kind of like a family. You have the adult structure that actually takes you and nurtures you and makes you more mature and makes you understand things. And it's just fun. You get, you grow up.
It's been wonderful to see how all around Port Discovery that area has grown up as well and become a great source of energy and fun, a great place to be in Baltimore.
During my student teaching last year, I brought a group of preschoolers here on a field trip, and it was really fun to see kind of from the other side. I was the adult and watching all of the kids play in the museum that I really had helped create and build, and it was a lot of fun to watch them enjoy the same things I had enjoyed when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, Elmo loves it. Elmo loves Port Discovery when you get to go and you get to make stuff in the craft area. It's really cool.
My favorite part of Port Discovery is playing soccer.
The soccer exhibit and the jungle gym. Jungle gym thingamajig.
The big tower, probably. I like that a lot.
I climb to the top. It's really fun. I like to go in a mummy exhibit, and I like to go in a haunted house and a diner. And
they have so many different things to play with and make stuff out of. And you can be in there for a long, long time.
I had my Port Discovery wristband on for 3 weeks. I like to get on the computers and use my imagination. We just pretty much make up games and go down a slide. My favorite part of Port Discovery is play.
Sing it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Do you mind?
Are you going to splice them all the way through?
Exactly. So we're going to splice them to Port Discovery.
Oh, singing?
Yeah. So when I warm you up with the song.
I don't know.
Children's Museum.
You haven't heard my voice yet.
I've got some really bad singers. We had everybody do it. The senator did it. John Waters sang for us. We got everybody singing.
Happy birthday, man.
I don't do songs. I really can't carry a tune.
It's whatever you feel comfortable with. If you don't feel comfortable.
Well, I won't sing, but I'll say happy birthday, Port Discovery. No.
No, I don't sing. I play bass. I don't sing.
You know, I always had a band, so I was a front man since I was 17. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday
to you.
Happy birthday, dear
Port Discovery.
Children's Museum.
Happy birthday
to you.
Elmo wants to sing happy birthday to Port Discovery.
Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha.
Happy birthday
to you. Cha-cha-cha. Happy birthday, dear Port Discovery.
Happy birthday to you.
And many more. Elmo loves you.
Happy 10th birthday to Port Discovery Children's Museum in Baltimore. That's where I was born.
I was there when y'all was first beginning to put that up, and here I am 10 years later, sitting right here in front of you guys to let you know happy birthday. You know, you done came a long way.
Happy birthday to the Port Discovery Children's Museum on your 10th birthday. A decade of bringing enjoyment and fun and amusement and education to the children of Baltimore and Maryland and really across the country, if not the world. So thanks for being here, and again, happy 10th birthday.